Okay, so going into ISM, I was set on studying astrophysics and aerospace, thinking that maybe I'd work for NASA one day or be responsible for putting the first person on Mars. But the more I researched and thought about it, I had to really understand what was drawing me towards astrophysics. So after I conducted some research and was looking through engineering and finance, the finance part is really what triggered me. So when you're looking at NASA, they're granted about $18 billion at the beginning of each year. And that seems like a ton of money to us. But you have to think that it's literally rocket science, and they're building rockets, and it's a lot more expensive than we think it is. So understanding that great endeavors like these, how much of an importance finance has on them, makes you think about how much of importance finance has on us as people. So I made the transition into finance this year as I was toying between the two, astrophysics and finance. And I think that this is really an area that I can excel in because I'm strong in math and science, but not necessarily building a rocket ship. You're encouraged to reach outside of your comfort zone in ISM, and I think we really all should. And so me literally shooting for the stars has brought me to an area that I can really find myself pursuing later in life. So hi, my name is Kaeli Long, and I'm a junior here at Frisco High School. This is my first year in ISM, and I'm studying financial planning and analysis. My goal for myself through the ISM process is to really build connections and gain better interpersonal skills and decide if finance is something I really want to pursue in the future. My quote was, to accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream, not only plan, but also believe. And I think that us as ISM students, this is what we've come here to do. We've applied, we've interviewed to follow something that we think we can pursue later in life. And it's our job to decide where we're going to fall and how we're going to go about that. So a little bit about me. Those are my two dogs on the left, Maxie and Cody. Maxie on the right, we actually adopted her a year ago today. They're both rescues. I'm a part of FHS Theater, Varsity Theater, and I'm Pinocchio off on to the right. And I'm also part of Frisco Stars. This is my second year on the team. Okay, so interviews. My interview process was a little different than some. As a part of finance, it's kind of iffy. So you can do corporate finance or you can do private client finance because there's finance in everything that you do. So my first interview was with Kavshika Patel. She works for Oak Hill Advisors out of Fort Worth. And she's a portfolio data analyst. So rather than meeting with people and deciding, hey, let's put together a retirement plan or let's decide what you want to do within the next 10 years, she'll look at a set of numbers for at-risk countries. And so it's her job to find these countries and serve as the middlemen. So her company works between the country and the investor, and they work together to find places that they can invest to maybe grow profitability in the country. So she's much more of looking at sets of numbers rather than interpersonal skills. And so I was interested in both, but I feel like interpersonal skills is where I really want to be rather than just crunching numbers all day. She also put an emphasis on hedge funds. So hedge funds are at-risk, basically investments. So for a hedge fund and for at-risk countries, people or investors will invest in the country hoping that when they do find a profit or that they do excel, that they'll get their money back. But the problem with hedge funds is if the country doesn't succeed or if it fails, then you not only lose the money you've invested into the hedge fund, but you've lost your stolen fund, which is the money that you are taking from other people to invest in these at-risk countries. So apart from just what she was talking to me about her position, she really stressed that you need to have a general understanding of a lot of different things. So she chose finance originally because she thought it was safe and that was something that she could excel in. But she really wanted me to make sure that it's something that I wanted to do. And she also stressed that internships are very, very important. So she actually worked as a call teller. So people would call her and be like, oh, how can I help you today? What would you like to invest in this stock? I mean, that's a little more simple than it was. But she said doing that when she was 17 really got her foot in the door and made people realize that she had some experience in finance. My second interview was with Ms. Shering Hung. She's a financial systems analyst at Greenberg Traurig in Dallas. So Greenberg Traurig is actually a law firm. It's not a financial institution. But she also looks at the data side of things, and she looks at numbers and processes reports. So let's say there's a man in court and he asks for a billing report because he didn't pay his bills on time, the lawyer can ask her to set up information in a certain way so that it's easier for them to understand. So she will take all the information from the last month or the last year and put it into a report for somebody else. And I thought that was interesting, having to make sense out of numbers that seemed to not make sense at all. But I wasn't sure if that was somewhere that I wanted to be. And I know that with finance, it's, like I said, corporate or client-based. This is personal clients through law firms, which gets a little tricky. Her company also deals with domestic and international funds. So they actually have a corporation in Berlin and in Japan where they do similar things, and they also focus with countries at risk, like Ms. Patel. So a lot of her information that she gathers is just based off of like law firms and reports, and then also bills and like certain cities that are going through different, whether inflation or crises. So there's a lot of different things that she does, and that was fun to get to know. I actually met with her in Chase Building because her building is under construction. So they're partnering with everyone in Chase Building right now, trying to figure out a way to become profitable. My third interview was with Ms. Monica Macias. So she's a senior financial analyst at Dr. Pepper Snapple Group in Plano, and FP&A is just financial planning and analysis. But she analyzes information to find slips in the company. So let's say a company is looking to find or to gain this much profit and they fall short. She has to look through the numbers and find where she went wrong or where the company slipped so that that mistake won't be made again. So when she looks through these numbers, she not only finds whether or not that they're meeting their profit, but if they're spending the right amount of money, if a product is being profitable. She also stressed that it's very important to become involved. So she was also kind of similar to Ms. Patel in that she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. She went with finance because she thought it was safe. And at first, for me, since these were my first two interviews, that was made me stand back a little bit. Like, do people actually enjoy what they're doing? But the more I talked to her, the more she said that, yeah, this is somewhere that I think I really should be because this is what I love to do. So finance, you have to kind of build into it. But by becoming involved in different things, whether that's accounting or astrophysics or science or really anything, you can have a better knowledge of everything around you. And also gaining, again, interpersonal skills and connections with people that can make you more successful in all of your work. She also said that it's important to have a business background. So for her, she majored in finance. Well, there's not really a finance major. She majored in accounting and business. So she stressed that business is important to have in anything that you do. So if you're going to become a doctor or if you're going to become an artist, just understanding how money and how things can be done through costs and just gaining connections, that was really important to her. My fourth interview was Mr. Joseph Ware, and he's the Vice President of Financial Consulting at Fidelity Investments. And I couldn't find a picture of him, but that's their logo. He works out of Las Colinas in Irving, and he was probably by far my favorite interview. I not only interviewed with Mr. Ware, but I also interviewed with the rest of his team. So I met with Ms. Dawn Boucher and Justin. He didn't give me his last name, nor did I get a business card, but he was a great person to work with as well. So Joseph Ware, he meets with high net worth clients, and his is much more private than corporate. And so he'll have people with $1 million or more come in, and he'll design a financial plan for them, whether it's within the next month or 10 years or until retirement. And so he stressed that it's important to build long-lasting relationships. And so, like I said earlier, interpersonal skills are very, very important for finance because you are dealing with these people's money. So not only are you having to build a relationship with them, you have to learn where they want to invest. So with high net worth clients especially, you have to sit them down and talk with them saying, this might be more risky for you to invest your money in, but it could be more profitable in the end. And he also explained to me that there are several outstanding circumstances. So he'll have clients come in that are trying to sue their parents or that are trying to buy a car for their neighbor that they've never met before. And those kind of throw up some red flags because it's not something that people come in to their financial consultant saying, hey, I want to buy a $200,000 car, let's make it happen. So being flexible and really understanding your clients will help you and your client build a relationship and will help them put their money where it needs to be. So I was Miss Dawn. She's kind of like an assistant to him, but she looks over scheduling and planning meetings. And so when I was in there, as soon as I was out, there were more clients coming, like just in and out of the building. And it's her job to also build a relationship with these clients. So Mr. Ware, he's working with them personally, but she has to make sure that they're comfortable so that they continue a business. And also with long-lasting relationships, since they do want to make it a lifetime partnership, if like let's say a client dies or like they pass on, because it does happen, their goal is to get in touch with their family and to continue that legacy. And then Mr. Justin, he is actually a financial coach. And so he'll pull in people like me or people from college or even high school students, and he'll coach them through the beginning of finance and really understanding what it means to be a financial planner and what it means to analyze these numbers. So I thought that was really interesting, and just being able to meet with their entire team and understand the different parts of finance rather than just the one part of finance of making a financial plan was really beneficial to my time. My last interview was with Mr. James Robertson. He's a senior director of financial planning analysis at Omnitrax in Dallas. So Omnitrax, it's more of a technological firm. So right now they're working with building like different, I don't want to say structures, but different devices for trucking routes. So when you use a GPS in your car to get to Dallas or to get to an interview, trucks oftentimes have to take different ways because, you know, like there's weight limits or there's height limits, things like that. And so it's their job to create this system specifically for trucks so that they can get to places in the most efficient way. And so I thought that was interesting. He also said that it's important to have an accounting background. When I was interviewing with everyone, accounting is either a hit or a miss. You either really like it or you really don't. But he said no matter what, it's important to have so that you can understand the numbers that you're working with. Also understanding statistics and current trends. So whether that's just looking into the market, finding stocks that are going up and down, or understanding like how many people are buying into your product, things like that. I enjoyed my time with Mr. Robertson, and Omnitrax was a really cool environment, but he deals much more with just telling people what to do and kind of helping them along rather than hands-on finance. And so I thought his position is very, very important, and he helps people in marketing and in finance get their jobs done. But I feel like I personally want to be sitting there with the numbers or with people gaining firsthand experience. And so he also talked about how he sections clients. So while he's helping these other people, he has clients coming into them that aren't just personal clients like individuals, they're companies. And so you have to group them according to like location and what they're looking for in a product. And so James Robertson, he does a lot with his job, and he actually drew me out an entire diagram on his whiteboard that I took a picture of. It wouldn't upload for some reason, but I'll see if I can find it. But he has a whiteboard wall around his room, and you walk in, it's just, there are numbers everywhere. And so really getting that first shock factor of, wow, he does a lot with what he does, that was really interesting to me. So I thought that was a great experience. For my research assessments, since I wasn't sure if I wanted to do private or corporate finance, I started generally researching everything. So my first assessment was over the New York Stock Exchange. So the New York Stock Exchange, it's the world's largest market for corporate equities. So you can have basically people calling in. It's kind of like what you see on Wall Street, but obviously not. And you have them calling in trying to find where they want to invest their money and things like that. And so their main goal is to provide a safe environment for investing, because if you're going to put your money into a stock or if you're going to put your money aside, you need to make sure that it's with somebody that you can trust, or it's with a corporation that you feel comfortable with. For example, a lot of people are starting to invest into Netflix because Netflix is on the rise and everybody watches Netflix. But eventually there will be a down current for the Netflix stock. And so understanding where you're going to invest and having somebody that you can partner with that you trust is really, really important. The market is also constantly changing. So since the market can't really be predictable, you have to be able to forecast. Forecasting is very important, but it can be tricky to do. It's kind of an art that needs to be mastered. So when you're forecasting a product, let's say you're looking at GPS like Mr. Robertson does, you have to look at competing substitutes or people from different companies so that you can see the outcome of this product and basically the job outlook. So you can see if this is actually going to be profitable or if it's going to be a fluke. So I gained a lot of information out of that, and I thought that gaining this information can help me with personal financial planning, whether if I want to be doing that in corporate or client finance. My second research assessment was how to analyze an industry. So the 5 main points are Porter's 5 forces. So you have the power of suppliers, the power of buyers, the barriers, competition, and the availability. So understanding your suppliers and like what they do is going to help you understand what your product is going to turn out to be. And by analyzing an industry, that also helps with industrial work, but it also helps with analyzing finance. So if you can decide how an industry is going to turn out, you can decide on if that's somewhere you want to invest in. The power of buyers, again, if you're providing a product that nobody wants to buy, nobody's going to buy it, and you're not going to make money, and you'll probably be down in a rut. And so also that goes along with barriers of entry. If there's something that is prohibiting you from being successful, that's something you need to learn to overcome or create a plan to overcome that situation. Understanding rivalries. So again, if there's another company that is creating something as good as you are or even better, you need to step up your game so that you can gain a profit. And then also the availability of substitutes. So if somebody finds your product and finds something just as good as it for a different price or a cheaper price, they'll probably go with that. So analyzing an industry not only helps with like understanding how much money needs to go into it, but analyzing if that's somewhere you want to invest your money. And that also goes with digging deep. So understanding more of below the surface things than just here's my product and here's who's going to buy it. My next research assessment was about hedge fund strategy. So I touched on this earlier with when I was talking about Kavshika Patel and Ms. Shering Hung. They deal with countries at risk. And so these shares are harder to sell because it is quote unquote stolen money. And so what happens is different investors will get together or they'll take money from each other and they'll put them into these at-risk countries, hoping, crossing their fingers that they will make money off of it. This can lead to a lot of different situations, and the shares in these situations are harder to sell because people don't want to lose their money. So these failures can lead to both loss of the hedge fund and of the stolen fund that they're stealing from people. But if it does prove to be profitable, a lot of money is gained from it. My next research assessment was about the causes and consequences of China's market crash. So I talked about this in my first speech because it was kind of a current event at that time, but China's market crash not only affected China, obviously, but it affected everybody else because they're responsible for more than 15% of our world's gross domestic product. And so we know that we import a lot from China. We work with them. It's a lot of different business relationships, and just the fact that they're crashing makes us crash, that's kind of a problem. And so this happened because of the devaluation of the yuan currency and then also pressure from emerging countries and a higher industrial demand. So with all these factors going into a country and having their market fall, that not only affects their economy, but that affects finance and investments like I touched on earlier. My last research assessment was about my UNT visit. So I took 3 classes. I took the Financial Accounting and Principles 1 class, a finance course, and a microeconomics course. My first course was with Ms. Sonia Hightower, and we talked about depreciation methods. So that can be straight line methods, double depreciation. I know that's a lot of words I'm just throwing at you, but it's basically just how money will be profitable or how it will fall over a span of time. Through my finance course, he was actually reviewing for a test with his class, and it was actually kind of funny because people are talking about investing interest, and that's what I've been studying. And since finance is so large, it was interesting that one thing that they were talking about over the review was what I happened to be studying. In microeconomics, I decided to take an economics course because economics and finance are kind of hand in hand. Brian Dixon, he was great. That was actually probably my favorite class that I took. And he explained implicit and explicit costs and what that means to buyers. So he actually talked about how he had a layover in St. Louis and he wanted to go see a movie. The only movie playing was the SpongeBob SquarePants movie when it first came out. So he's like, yeah, you know what, I'll go see it, whatever. And then he got in there and didn't realize how weird that might have seemed that an old man is just sitting in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. But he's sitting through all of the previews, and previews for Saw came on, and I'm sure y'all know what Saw is, that scary movie. But he just started hearing all these kids start screaming and crying, and the people had switched the movie tapes. And so understanding who your clients are and that you are providing to them is so, so very important, or else we'll run into a disaster like Saw and SpongeBob SquarePants. My goals for the future, so my original work, it's originally right now is to build a financial plan for individuals of different backgrounds and in different countries. So countries at risk, if I can help a person maybe get out of debt or to help them in an economy experiencing recession, that could maybe create a chain reaction or help the country as a whole. I also plan to continue networking and building connections, because if finance isn't something that I decide is what I want to pursue, it's important that I have connections and that I understand everything that I've learned this year so that I can focus on something next year or even apply that to my personal life. And also experiencing more work and developing professional skills. I feel like that's something that we're all going to do this year in ISM and really hope to hit hard on. I'm only a junior this year, but I plan on attending college in New York or Chicago. I know that's what I plan on doing, and I want to plan on either business or math, and then also accounting would be a finance major and things of that sort. But I have a couple years to figure it out, and I'm really excited to what's going to happen this year. So I hope through ISM I can again build my interpersonal skills and gain an experience that's unique to me, whether that's me wanting to pursue finance in the future or me deciding, oh, this isn't what I want to accomplish, but I can still use this in my personal life. So thank you for listening. That's financial planning and analysis.